Next on Currents News, he lost his leg serving his country. Now a Vietnam vet is getting a great place to live. The U.S. Supreme Court is taking up a new case that could have a big impact on Catholic education. We'll have all the details on a major recall of frozen vegetables that include big-name brands. Plus, the Pope will be face-to-face with Vladimir Putin in less than 48 hours. They're expected to tackle some of the world's major hotspots. The news starts right now.
Wow, this is really nice.
Vietnam vet Michael Sosona reacting to his new home. Good evening, I'm Emily Druby. Michael, a devout Catholic, lost his legs to a landmine while serving the country as a Marine sergeant. Now he will live on Staten Island in a smart home especially designed for his needs by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports.
3, 2, 1.
A brand new home for one of America's war heroes. Marine Sergeant Michael Sosona, a man so charismatic he's simply referred to as Mike, rolling his wheelchair into his house for the first time.
You always appreciate what you have, you know, but this is like a bonus.
Mike's old home wasn't wide enough for his wheelchair, and completing daily tasks were difficult. In this new Staten Island home, hallways are wider. The master bedroom and bathroom are on the first floor, and Mike won't have to struggle to reach a cabinet. This is all thanks to the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation, named in honor of the fallen September 11th responder who ran through the Battery Tunnel to save others. Stephen's brother Frank is the foundation's chairman and CEO.
As St. Francis said, brothers and sisters, while we have time, let us do good. And today, this was very good.
Mike was 19 when he stepped on a landmine in Vietnam. He had to have both legs amputated. For his bravery, Mike was awarded the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star with Valor. He and his wife Frida are Brooklyn natives. They grew up attending Mass at St. Agnes and St. Paul churches in Carroll Gardens. Mike explains how his Catholic faith plays a role in life.
In spirituality, you know, you're thankful for what you get, and you're never going to lose by doing good to someone else.
The 67-year-old is now an ambassador for Tunnel to Towers, reaching out to other vets and their families struggling to adjust after war.
It's tough to get it together. I understand a lot of them just have a tough time getting through life, but you know, we got to pull it together.
Pulling together to help the next generation of war heroes. In Staten Island, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation is dedicated to helping veterans who have suffered severe combat injuries. To donate, go to their website, tunnel2towers.org. A massive Christian burial for 9/11 hero Luis Alvarez will be held tomorrow at Immaculate Conception Church in Astoria. The former NYPD detective spent his final days pleading with Congress to support the 9/11 Victims' Compensation Fund. Instead of flowers, the family is requesting donations in his name be made to charities like St. Jude Children's Hospital. A case that could have a big impact on Catholic education is heading to the Supreme Court. The justices to rule on whether tax credits in support of religious schools are constitutional. They're taking up a Montana court decision which outlawed them. The credits would boost scholarship programs that provide financial aid to families sending their children to a Catholic or other religious school. The Brooklyn Diocese has long advocated for the credits. A Supreme Court decision in favor of the tax credits could do a lot for the financial health of Catholic education. The national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, joins us now. Christopher, thank you so much for being here.
Good to be with you, Emily.
Brooklyn's Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio and other Catholic leaders in New York are strong supporters of education tax credits. How would a court ruling make a difference here?
Well, Emily, one of the major arguments that it is put forward by Bishop DiMarzio and other New York bishops and religious leaders is that, look, there are many immigrants in our communities and poor families that simply just don't have the opportunity to go to our schools and our institutions without this tax credit. And so this would effectively, expand access and level the playing field to a certain extent. And I think what they really want is an end to this tug of war, because we see with these tax credits decisions being made on a state-by-state basis, and so a Supreme Court ruling would provide a determinative answer across the board.
So what's the argument that religious freedom advocates are making to convince the High Court to allow the credits?
Well, the pushback that always comes from those that oppose this is that it's an establishment of religion. And that's simply not the case, religious leaders say. They say, it's just one option among many that parents are given the choice to go to. In the same way in which, there are Catholic hospitals. Because they're Catholic hospitals doesn't mean, it's an endorsement of all of Catholicism.
Christopher, any sense as to how the justices will rule in this case?
So the last major decision was made in 2002, and it was a 5-4 close ruling in favor of tax credits. We've seen the court expand since that time with a larger majority that tends to be open to sort of freedom of religion cases. So many advocates are optimistic.
National correspondent for the Talbot and Crux, Christopher White, thank you once again for joining us.
Thanks, Emily.
Turning now to a major food recall ordered by the feds. Green Giant, Trader Joe's, and Signature Farms brand of some frozen vegetables are being pulled from the shelves. The Food and Drug Administration is worried about possible listeria contamination. The vegetables include cauliflower, zucchini, butternut squash, and vegetable bowls with a best use date between June 26th and the 29th. Tonight, allegations that detained migrants are being forced to drink water from toilets is at the center of an intense war of words. Customs officials are pushing back hard against congressional Democrats who leveled the charges. Omar Jimenez reports the latest.
It's being described as a human rights crisis at the southern border, specifically at facilities where migrant children are being held.
I am very confident in what it is that we are doing by way of caring for these individuals, these incredibly vulnerable populations in our custody, again, in absolutely overly saturated conditions.
Others aren't quite as confident, claiming some were forced to drink water out of a toilet.
What we saw today was unconscionable.
Members of Congress visited 2 Border Patrol facilities in Texas Monday after reports of deteriorating and unsanitary conditions.
If you're a parent or a grandparent out there, I would say, look at your child and go hug your child, because you would not want a law enforcement agent to treat your child the way we see those kids being treated.
Defund hate!
Invest in love!
The reports have sparked protests in places all across the country.
We are having to, in CBP, to detain these people longer than these facilities were ever designed to do. And again, we take any and every allegation of misconduct incredibly seriously. We get to the bottom of the facts, and there will be consequences to those who do not adhere to our standards of conduct.
Omar Jimenez, Currents News.
A story still developing tonight. Moscow is proposing the United States and Russia make a prisoner swap. The news is coming on the heels of President Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin last week in Japan. The Russians are calling for the release of a pilot now in jail on cocaine smuggling charges. In exchange, former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan would be freed after he was accused of spying. In less than 48 hours, Vladimir Putin will be meeting with Pope Francis at the Vatican. Sean Richardson previews some of the hot-button topics the leaders are likely to tackle.
The third meeting between Putin and Pope Francis will be more than a cordial visit. There are many political issues of common interest that are sensitive. The first of these is peace in Ukraine. The Pope will ask Putin to put an end to the conflict. This is because one day before their meeting, Pope Francis will talk with the major archbishop of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church and the bishops who govern it. Russia is also a major influence in Venezuela, and the Vatican is concerned about the crisis in this country. In the past, the Holy See played an important role in trying to facilitate dialogue between the government and its opposition, although it failed in its attempt. The Middle East is another issue of interest to both. Russia does not want to lose its influence in the area, and the Vatican does not want Christians to disappear from the region due to violence. They are both interested in bringing stability to that region. Additionally, it is likely they will discuss about the possibility in the Pope visiting Russia. This is because now the relations between Rome and the Patriarch of Moscow are more cordial. The meeting is expected to be long. In the past, the discussions have lasted 35 to 50 minutes. If he stays true to his style, Vladimir Putin will be late. He's the only world leader who makes even the Pope wait. In Rome, Sean Richardson, Currents News.
An update tonight on the Brooklyn Diocese mission to help in the rebuilding of Puerto Rico. More than 30 young members of the Vicariate for Black Catholic Concerns are on the island. A mix of high school and college students, they are spending the week helping residents still recovering from Hurricane Maria. Tablet reporter Melissa Inahe is with them. She will be reporting on the mission in the tablet. A scam first reported on Currents News in May is hitting a new diocese. One or more thieves are trying to rip off Catholics using text and posing as priests to ask for money. In one case, the scammer even pretended to be Bishop DiMarzio. Several $1,000s were swindled from Brooklyn's faithful. Now the Diocese of Rockville Center is reporting a con artist claiming to be a Malvern priest is asking for donations to help a cancer patient. Church officials are alerting all parishioners to the scam. There's a lot more news headed your way as we are highlighting some of our most memorable stories recently reported by our Currents News team. The heartwarming story of Project Hope and how a Catholic deacon is helping migrant day laborers and others who need a meal to eat. A Queens priest is setting sail to serve God and country in the Navy. A special program on Everyday Heroes, a TV event you won't want to miss. Welcome back as we take another look at memorable stories reported by the Currents News team. Every week for many years, a deacon and a dedicated group of Catholic volunteers have carefully packed dozens of lunch bags and hit the streets to feed those in need. Currents News' Tamara Lane has the story of their work.
We got water and some sandwiches.
Every Tuesday, he greets them with a smile and a brown bagged lunch. At nearly 78 years old, Deacon Art Griffin has dedicated over 20 years to helping homeless men and women, and now migrant day laborers.
I've been doing work with the homeless since 1995.
Deacon Art is the founder of Project Hope, which stands for Help Our People Eat, and that is exactly what they do. Every Tuesday, bringing dozens of sandwiches to people on the street.
It takes the average of 40 a week, and you get 50 weeks. That's what, 2,000? Then you do that for 10 years. So that's 20,000 at least, 20,000 sandwiches.
We joined Deacon Art for a ride-along to see the impact firsthand, gathering at Transfiguration Church in Queens before loading up his car and hitting the streets. A look out the car window highlights the crisis this humble organization faces. With an estimated 62,000 homeless in New York City and 10,000 undocumented day laborers.
Now I see familiar faces.
Frank Griebel has been by Deacon Art's side since Project Hope's inception 11 years ago. The program, an offshoot of Deacon Art's previous outreach, which was defunded by the city in 2007.
So we used to get people with heroin and addicts and take them to hospitals. We don't really get that now. We just get more what you see right now, the feeding and conversation, and if you need any help, we'll try to help you.
And it depends on the weather. For example, it's summertime, so they get water. In the wintertime, we take out soup.
Frank is one of the handful of volunteers that make Project Hope possible. Just a short drive away in the basement of St. Stanislav Kostka, Frank's wife Maureen and 4 others gather.
So this is 25.
Breaking bread together every Monday, preparing the sandwiches for delivery.
It feels good to help someone.
Packing each bag with care, hoping it has an impact.
Okay today? Everybody all right?
Back on the street, Deacon Art hands out sandwich after sandwich to thankful hands. And though his mission hasn't changed, the people he serves has. The majority are now undocumented day laborers.
Hola, ¿cómo está? Me llamo Tamara.
Señora. Manuel, who asked we not use his last name, waits on this corner near Queens Boulevard every day for work.
Very difficult for the chance for the job. Cuando no hay trabajo, a veces pasamos así, hambre.
He came to America to escape Ecuador's failing economy and violence, and like so many others, in search of a better life. Manny Castro, Executive Director of New Immigrant Community Empowerment, says they have seen an increase in day laborers because of the city's construction boom and sanctuary city status.
There is a lot of fear, there is a lot of concern amongst the immigrant community about what's coming next and what they might experience at their work site. There is an increase in anti-immigrant sentiment.
Coming from the Diocese of Immigrants, Deacon Art helps everyone, no matter when they arrived in the country.
They've been offering their service to us for years, and I respect that so much.
A service that this worker, who asked to be called John, says is indispensable when work dries up.
We don't get work and we don't have any cash or anything, so they really help a lot.
And the need is never ending.
One more? He wants one more.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Project Hope is a beacon of light in turbulent times to many on the street, bringing hope to anyone that needs it, one sandwich at a time. Tamara Lane, Flushing, Queens, Currents News.
Not long ago, a Queens priest offered a solemn goodbye to his Douglaston parish so that he could serve God in country. Currents News' Tim Harfman was there when the cleric returned to the Navy.
So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations.
An emotional Father Mark Bristol being sworn in as the Navy's newest chaplain. The ceremony taking place at St. Anastasia Church in Douglaston, Queens, where the priest has been assigned.
I feel moved. Moved spiritually, moved physically, brought to tears.
Father Bristol is no stranger to the Navy. The Brooklyn native enlisted in 2002 at the age of 17. He was deployed throughout the Mediterranean on the USS Mount Whitney, the flagship for the 6th Fleet. During his naval service, he heard God calling him to become a priest. Now he's returning to the sea to meet a need.
Currently, there are less than 47 priests in the military, and many of our sailors, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen go out to sea without the ability to go to Mass or receive the sacraments.
Father Daniel Mode, a friend of Father Bristol's, presided at the commissioning. A naval chaplain himself, Father Mode says the need for more chaplains is extreme. Father Bristol will be transported by helicopter to other ships to celebrate the sacraments.
Think about the military, the Navy, the Coast Guard, and the Marine Corps. If you put all that together, that's about 600,000 persons who are deployed throughout the world. Of that, about 20 to 25% are Roman Catholic.
Father Bristol is returning to active duty on July 1st. He'll be stationed on board the USS Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier, patrolling the Pacific for 2 years. He'll minister to nearly 6,000 service members of all faiths.
I'll be meeting their spiritual needs, providing care for those not of the Catholic faith, of any faith, and also advising the commanding officer on issues of morale and ethics.
Henry and Mary Maccheroli, parishioners of Our Lady of Miraculous Medal in Ridgewood, have known Father Bristol since he was a seminarian. They say he makes a perfect fit to be a chaplain.
He's a very charismatic priest. He works very, very hard. He cares about all types of people.
And as he leaves the Brooklyn Diocese, Father Bristol describes how he feels towards the men and women he says have been instrumental throughout his vocation.
A tremendous amount of gratitude, because you formed me to be the priest that I am today. And wherever I go, no matter where I go in the world, I will always be a Brooklyn priest.
A Brooklyn priest serving God and country. In Douglaston, Queens, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Still to come on Currents News, a husband and wife team's dedication to the faith and each other. One of the special stories we're taking another look at. And why a World War II vet is walking across America. And the tablet has a brand new page called Our Diocesan Family, where you can share your pictures of recent baptisms, Holy Communions, confirmations, marriage, all of the joyous sacraments. For more details and to submit your photos, go to thetablet.org/ourdiocesanfamily. Your picture may be published in an upcoming issue of the newspaper. We'll be right back. Welcome back as we take another look at memorable stories reported by the Currents News team. They're a remarkable couple, Hugo and Juliet Morel. After years of hard work, they each have master's degrees in theology, and Hugo has been ordained a permanent deacon. Before that happy day, the couple told me about the strength they've gained from their faith and marriage. The married couple that studies together stays together.
Also, we can write about this one.
Juliet and Hugo Morel recently graduating with their master's in theology from St. Joseph's Seminary, tackling the difficult course load the way they do everything, as a team.
I rely on her a lot. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do it. And thanks God for her.
Back in May, Hugo was ordained as a permanent deacon in the Diocese of Brooklyn, meaning he's a clergy member who's allowed to be married and can perform sacraments like weddings and baptisms. He can also proclaim the gospel and preach at Mass, among other ministries. The road to his ordination and their master's degrees has not been smooth. The couple has faced plenty of struggles, like his commute and a language barrier.
Every day I had to come from downtown Brooklyn, take 3 trains.
It was hard. The beginning we thought it was going to be in Spanish. And I say, okay, in Spanish I can handle, it's gonna be hard, but I can handle in Spanish. But then when we found out it was in English, that was like, I don't know, maybe.
They had some important help to get through it all.
I pray a lot, I pray a lot.
God help me, send me angels around me and help me to accomplish that.
For years, the Morels kept their faith on a back burner, the family rediscovering it after being hit hard by the 2008 recession. Now faith is the cornerstone of their lives.
Without my faith, I cannot do nothing. It's like, because when I have problem, I know I can overcome that because God is with me. It's our life, it's what we're gonna pass to our kids, but we want them to love God.
The Morels are proof. With a partner by your side and faith, you can accomplish anything. Now Deacon Hugo is proudly serving his parish of Saints Peter and Paul in Williamsburg. A World War II veteran is going cross-country on foot. 95-year-old Ernie Andrus started his walk from the East Coast in March and hopes to reach the West Coast by the time he turns 100. This isn't the first time he's made the trip. Ernie walked from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic back in 2013. That trip took him over 2 years to complete. Ernie explained why he decided to make the journey again.
You should know that freedom is not free, and what it takes to keep this country free. We were called on to do our part. The generations before us all had to do their part, and the future generations are probably going to have to do their part.
Ernie is raising money for a World War II memorial for the Navy. Finally tonight, there's going to be a very special program in the Currents News time slot on the 4th of July. NetTV will televise an acclaimed documentary produced by the Knights of Columbus. It's all about heroes.
We all have those opportunities, and you never want to look back and say, I didn't give it all I had.
Everyday Heroes is a documentary with the central message that heroism is a worthy goal that lies within our grasp. The special follows the lives of 14 men who embody the mission of the Knights and demonstrate that making the world a better place begins with the individual human heart. You won't want to miss it. Everyday Heroes will air on NetTV on the 4th of July at 7 and encores on July 6th at 4:30. That is Currents News. I'm Emily Drewby. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.